Hello, everybody! Are we just seeing, like, me cut off? Or is everything kind of more awesome today? I don't know. Ugh. Cowl, help me. Help me cover my fat rolls in my neck. Ah! How are you? My name's Kelly. I am from SheepDreamery.com. SheepDreamery.com is where I sell yarn hand-dyed by me. Um, and if you're new to my videocasts, I talk about yarn. I talk about other things too, but I mostly start with yarn. I apologize in advance if you can hear my cat. He's really needy today. There's really not much help for him. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. I've got to cut back on some carbs. Everything's getting roly-poly here. So, I had a wonderful weekend. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. To start things off, I'm wearing my goth cowl. The goth cowl is a pattern by Blue Ruin, Sadie, and I knit it in these colors, black and purple, and a slight touch of pink. Back in, December? I did that. And then, this weekend, guess what happened? There was a Super Bowl, and my favorite football team won. Yay, Ravens! Yay, Ravens! So, that's what I'm going to start off with today. I'm just going to talk about the Ravens just a little bit. Very happy that since Ray Lewis is retiring, that he got to go out with a Super Bowl win. So, very happy for him. Maybe he's a thug, maybe he's not, but it was a very interesting game. And I'll also let you know, I did not watch the game at all. Now, I'm usually not a person who believes in a lot of fantasy-like things. But I do believe in ghosts. And I do have sports superstitions. And I knew that if I watched the game, the Ravens would lose. Anytime I actually watch a Ravens game, they do great in the first half, come back in the second half, and it all goes downhill. So, it was really tense when the Patriots and Ravens played the other week because my husband was watching it in the living room and he's just, oh, ooh, oh, is he dead? And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to know what's going on. But I even do my best to stay away from social media stuff while the game is on, just so that I don't know what the score is, because knowing anything about the game makes me feel like I'm gonna jinx it. So I was really glad when the Ravens won against the Patriots. And then, oh boy, Super Bowl Sunday was just, it was just my husband and I at home. And I was in here and I was knitting and I was watching, I'm watching a show called Cranford. It's based on Mary Gaskell's book. It's a British production, but it's available for viewing on Amazon. Anyway, I was watching that for the most part, so I had on headphones and I didn't hear a lot of stuff, but I did want to watch the halftime show because I like Beyonce. So we actually recorded it. We had the DVR set up to record. So when halftime came on, he paused, we had our wings, sat down, watched all of Beyonce, and then right at the last second, the screen came back up, and it was Phil Simms and whoever the hell else, was talking. They were both not fans of the Ravens. And I saw the score. I was like, crap. And I got up really fast and trying to throw everything in the trash, get my stuff out of the kitchen and get back into the bedroom and close the doors so that I don't hear anything. And then I didn't hear anything because the lights went out at the game. I do blame Beyonce for that. Hey, she put on a great show, but it could not hold the power of her greatness. So everything was quiet for such a long time, and it didn't sound in the living room like it sounded during the Patriots game. And because I know that the Ravens have a habit of going full out crazy thug life in the first half, that anything can happen in the second half. And my husband was barely saying anything. He wasn't like, go, 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 or ooh, or he wasn't saying anything. And that made me so nervous. So nervous. And then when the game was over, he didn't cheer or anything. He came in my room like a half hour later. Oh, do you want to know the score? I said, only if it's over. He's like, yeah, it's been over for a while. The Ravens won. I was like, why didn't you come tell me? They're my team. And the Ravens are very, very important to me. Actually, somebody who just started watching my podcast the other week, she and I had a conversation because she noticed that I had a lot of yarns named after Maryland waterways and asked if I had lived in Maryland, and I said yes, and she said, I grew up there, I lived there for a while. I said, okay, so how is it that somebody from Maryland would ever have a Pittsburgh Steeler as their avatar? How does that happen? And she was like, oh, well, after the Colts left, I didn't have a team anymore. Ooh, boy. Okay. The Colts. I know that she saw the exact same things that I saw the day that the Colts left. It was the middle of the night. It was snowing. And these Mayflower trucks, I will never use a Mayflower truck to move, are taking everything from Colts headquarters and taking it to Indianapolis. It was really heartbreaking for me as a kid because I love the Colts. My family was very involved in the Colts organization. My cousin Chris is involved in the Colts marching band. And Barry Levinson did a film about 3 or 4 years ago. I can't remember what it was called, but they showed it on ESPN a few times. And my cousin Chris and her husband Butch are in it. And basically it talks about how when they found out that the stuff was going to Indianapolis, they went and got all of the marching band uniforms and stuff like that and kept them hidden so that Bob effing Ursay couldn't have them. And they did their best to continue the tradition of having a Colts band, even though the Colts weren't in our town anymore. Hold on, I need a drink real quick. So, as you can imagine, my family was overjoyed to get the Ravens. And actually, at the time that the Ravens were going to Baltimore, and they used to be the Browns, I was actually in Akron at the time, and my friend was really upset, who I was staying with. And I was like, "You're getting the Browns back. Cleveland's not going to be without a team. They're getting something back. When the Colts left, we had nothing. We could cheer for the Redskins," and I did. I mean, what was I going to do? Cheer for the Eagles? I even lived in New Jersey for a while across from Philadelphia, and there was no way I was going to cheer for the Eagles. So I was ecstatic that we had the Ravens, and I was so ecstatic when they won their first Super Bowl. And my cousin was just a few weeks ago diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So it was a very emotional win for her, for this win, because we don't know what the future holds for her. But I think, when you have a list of things that you want to have happen before you die, when you're very involved with something, to get to see a victory involving it will probably be close to the top of the list. So, as my cousin said on her Facebook status, that one was for you, Mom. So, and also, today was the parade, and a lot of times I'm pretty much okay with living here in Cincinnati. And then other times I really wish I was back in Maryland. And today is one of those days. Because my friend Margie is a flute and piccolo player, and she is currently playing in the Ravens marching band. So she got to be in the parade for that today, and she felt honored. So I was really happy for her. I'm really happy for all my friends that got to go and see the parade. That must have just been incredible and awesome to see. I don't see the Cincinnati Bengals winning a Super Bowl in a very, very long time. And I feel so bad for my husband. I've been telling him for years to cheer for the Ravens, because at least by the third game, you don't want to give up on them. I'm like, cheer for the Ravens. No. Bengals are going to be good this year. I said, they break your heart every year. Why bother? So, it's not that I hate the Bengals. I just don't really care about them. That's really how I feel about the Reds, too. And don't get me started on Pete Rose. I think he's a thug. I think he does not deserve to ever be in the Hall of Fame. And I think he's a lying addict, especially when he says that he only bet on the Reds to win games and not to lose games. That sounds like just such a lie that an addict would tell. I can't believe him at all. Plus, he's raised his kids to be ungracious little snots, according to people in the area who have encountered them. That's all I'll say about Pete Rose. You got half a street in Cincinnati, and I think that's all you deserve. Okay, so In celebration of the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. If you have not read any of my Facebook statuses, or my Twitter statuses, or my Plurk statuses, or you haven't joined my Ravelry group, then you might not know I'm having a sale this week. Every yarn in my shop is on sale, 20% off. Sorry, chest pain. 20% off. Use the code, all in caps, Purple Rain. Not rain like this, rain like this. We rain. REIGN. Purple Rain. All one word, all in caps. And you'll get 20% off your order. So, that's the end of my purple talk. Although, hey Sadie, check it out. I'm wearing purple eyeshadow. After I saw the review of Knit Scene and Sadie going on about the girl's eyeshadow, I was like, I'm putting purple eyeshadow on for the Ravens today anyway. But that was all I can think about as I'm going. Alright, so I'm taking this one off because it's a little big. And I'm going to show you my finished cowl. It turned out so lovely. This is the Rivendell smoke ring in the Coconut Octopus Skinny Bugga by Cephalopod Yarns. And let's see if I can just... Alright, slap it over. Now, the only problem I have with this pattern is down here at the bottom. When I bound off, I used the super stretchy bind off that was included in the directions, and it's actually tighter down here than where my cast on is. So that's kind of annoying. But I still like it. And I also wanted to show off my shirt today. My husband bought it for me. You may recall that I encouraged all of you to watch Maria Bamford's special, and he bought me Maria Bamford supports me in my journey. And then it's just got all these wild and crazy people on it. And I think they're supporting me in my journey too. So, I love it. I think it's great. Oh, I need a rubber band. I want to pull my hair back. Okay, so, I'm looking at all my notes. Where am I going? Okay, so, when I finished this, I finished it for Nerd Wars because it was part of the Flexible Schedule Challenge. Flexible Schedule is doing a work in progress and completing it. And I didn't realize at the time, but I should have held off on submitting it until I had finished 2 works in progress. For some reason, I thought that if you finished 1 work in progress, then you would get the full 10 points. I didn't realize that you had to finish 2 works in progress to get the full 10 points. So, man, I am all dried out. So, that was my first entry ever in Nerd Wars, and I got 8 points. And it was a lesson to learn, I guess. Pay more attention to the directions. That's almost always one of the things I need to learn. So, my current work in progress is also for Nerd Wars. Oops, sorry. This is, there's a challenge. It's called Simple Machines. You have to do a object that's based on simple machines. So I am doing the wedge, pyramid, triangle, something. Anyway, it's the Multnomah, and I am doing this on some sparkly yarn that I dyed myself. Its tie-in to Team That's What She Said is Sweetums candy. This is so sparkly and so little girl pink and just bright and crazy that it could only be a Sweetums product. So that's the tie-in for that. The tie-in for this one is the episode of Friends where they go to, I don't know, they go to some beach. And Joey is on the beach and he's digging a giant hole. And as he's digging the hole, Monica's standing over near the tide. The tide comes in, fills up Joey's hole, and Monica gets stung by a jellyfish. And she's complaining about how much the sting hurts. And Joey has the bright idea that somebody should pee on it. So, on the one hand, this reminded me of the beach, just for the beachy kind of colors. But, as I said last week, this color also reminds me a bit of the color of pee. So, it tied in twice. I should get double points for it. 16 points for this. That's how awesome it was. So, that's all I'm really working on right now. Oh! It's over there. I forgot it. I got yarn from Silly Fru, and I've already started working on some squares. They're really tiny. I'm doubling some Red Heart baby fingering, so I'm really gonna have to, I think I'm just gonna have to attach stuff and whatnot. I'm sorry, I am so thirsty. And I really don't talk very much at home. I'm not much of a jabberjaw. So, this is the most that I talk in a week. Hey, how you like my chicken wings? Alright. What else am I going to talk about? Oh, my friend, Chrissy Gardner, she designs socks mostly. She has a book called Indie Socks. And she designed a sock 2 years ago called True Love. And that pattern is for free if you enter the code True Love, all in caps. It's a really cute sock pattern. So get on that. That is until February 14th. So that's until next Thursday. So you've got plenty of time to get it. Okay, what else? I bought, now remember I told you about buying the collage square needles? I think they really did some damage to my fingers. I don't think they were helpful to me at all. In fact, I think they made everything a lot worse. So, because I am going to be participating in the Ho Aloha knit along with Melski Knits, I wanted to get a new set of Oh man, a new set of circulars that maybe won't hurt my hands quite as much. So I'm going to be trying these out. These are the Chiagu lace, and I got them in an 8 and a 7, and I hope they work. Collage square needles say that they're great for people who have arthritis and whatnot. Not for me. Not for me. It really got to me. Got to my carpal tunnel. Okay, which brings me to my next product. I paid for this. It's called Penetrex. And alright, so here's the story. To watch videos on Amazon Prime, I have to log into my husband's Amazon account to be able to watch them. And so sometimes while I'm watching stuff, I'm also looking at other things. And so I had just watched Kim Craft Stash. She had a tutorial, maybe. She had a very informative section about different things that you could do for your hands. Why now? Why now? And somebody else had mentioned using Voltaren, but I was searching around for Voltaren, and I wasn't crazy about the price, I think. But I saw that there were a lot of really great Amazon reviews for Penetrex. And so I went ahead and put them in my husband's shopping cart. And the next morning, he was like, what are you buying? I was like, I haven't bought anything. I said, I haven't bought anything in a long time. Which is pretty much true, as long as you don't count patterns. And he was like, so you didn't put this in my shopping cart? He was like, what is Penetrex? What is Penetrex? I don't want this in my history. I was like, no, it's supposed to be for people with arthritis and stuff like that. And he was like, that is not a name they should have chosen. Penetrex. So actually, I'm going to put it on right now and see how it goes. Says it's good for carpal tunnel syndrome and good for trigger finger. It says repeat this 3 to 4 times a day over an initial period of at least 7 to 10 days. Good. Blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to put some on now while I'm talking, and we'll see how it goes. It smells a little minty, a little Bengay-ish, which I guess I just have to deal with. Alright, so I'm going to rub this in. Yes, I talked about Penetrex, I talked about Purple Rain, I talked about the needles, I talked about Chrissy's sock code, I talked about Nerd Wars. Oh. And by the way, if you haven't joined my group on Ravelry yet, you really should. I'm giving away a skein of yarn. Any skein that you like that's in my shop, all you have to do is post in the 100 members, woo, thread, and tell me how you met your first knitting friends. These are people that you never knew before you started knitting. And I already told my story last week of all the great people I've met through knitting. So if you're interested, you can go back and watch last week's episode about that. What else? Oh, now we're gonna get a little tiny bit controversial. Over the weekend, in the group called, let me make sure I get this right, Podcast Hosts, a person by the name of Momo started a thread aimed at podcast hosts and kind of dictated how she wanted everyone to run their shows. Mostly, she wanted the contest winners to be announced at the beginning of shows. Maybe that's not what she said. There was no block quoting, and by the time I got to the thread, she had deleted her first post. I'm one of those kinds of people who believe that if you post something, if you say something, you keep it there. It's just an act of cowardice to go back and delete something. Think before you type. And if you can't handle it, then maybe the lesson needs to be learned over and over again. Think before you type. Think before you speak. Sometimes saying nothing is better than saying anything. There's a phrase in Spanish, en una boca cerrada no entran moscas. That means, in a closed mouth, enters no flies. So, a lot of people spoke up and said, honey, we're going to do our podcasts however we want to do them. And who are you to kind of come in and tell us what to do? And then she was like, well, that's not what I meant. Okay, we can't figure out what you meant because you deleted your first post. Don't be a coward. Think about your words before you write them down. And think about what your intent is before you write them down. And then be ready for any kind of reaction. Not everybody's going to be jumping for joy. And not everybody's out to kill you. But everybody's entitled to their opinion. You can share your opinion, but nobody has to agree with it. So, all I'm saying is, if you're trying to make a point, don't delete your first post. You look stupid. Alright. What else am I gonna talk about? Oh. Okay. Hold on. Alright, I've got this Penetrix in. It's Penetrexing. Alright. Today is also a great day because the second half of Coheed and Cambria's album called The Afterman, the second part is called Dissension. It came out today, and I've listened to it twice so far, and it's great. I love it. There was no way that I wasn't going to love it, but the one song on there I've been listening to for over a year because Claudio Sanchez did an acoustic recording of it that you can find on YouTube, and it's Sentry the Defiant, and I loved that acoustic version so much, and on the album, and I still have to download it on iTunes. I pre-ordered it on iTunes, so I haven't listened to the extras on that yet. But for the album, they went ahead and did a non-acoustic, seriously rocking version of Century of the Defiant, and it is so good. I love it. I love it. It's awesome. It's great. So, my child, my firstborn son, he texted me the other day and asked if I was allergic to ham and if he was, and if my other son was my favorite son. I said no. I said, and my favorite son is Rocky, the cat. Oh, isn't it terrible when your kids are like, am I your favorite? Am I your favorite? So, thank God I've got a cat here, a male cat, so I could say no. The cat's my favorite. So, oh boy, what a day. What a day. Anyway, so he's excited about going to the concert in Atlanta. I'm excited about going to the concert in Atlanta. And I was talking about it on Twitter the other day, that I was really amped about it. And somebody replied to my tweet that said to Coheed and Cambria, I can't wait for the Atlanta show. And the guy replied back, yeah, that'll be great. I'd love to meet some people at the Atlanta show. And his name's Tyler. So, I think Tyler has no idea that he's talking to a woman over the age of 40. So I sent my son a text. I was like, there's someone named Tyler who's going to be looking for me while we're there. And he just laughed. So I'm waiting for a good time. I'm very charged up for it. And in business news, woo. All right, in business news, my husband is self-employed, so we rely on his clients to pay their bills on time. And when they don't pay their bills on time, it makes us a nervous wreck. And so, people just pay your bills as soon as possible. I'm not saying you have to pay them the next day, but pay them within, I don't know, a 2-week period. That would be nice. Because I had committed to something, and when I brought it up last night, my husband was like, I don't think we can do that now. I was like, I already committed to it. If I don't do this, I will look like a complete flake. And so things were kind of tense. And then, by the magic of, I don't know, luck of the Irish, somebody called him this morning wanting a new mobile site. So it's somebody who pays right away. He'll probably get paid for that tomorrow, so then I'll be able to buy the yarn that I need to dye for a certain commitment that I made. And that's due by March 1st. So, gotta get on that. Alright. And then, let's see. Oh, today I went to the post office, and it was my first time shipping to Canada since the price increases. And I'm really, really sorry, Canadians. But I had to increase my shipping prices even more today. I mailed first class a package that was 5.5 ounces, and it cost me $9. That's just way more than I can take out of the price on my own side. I'm just not going to be able to charge a lower amount. I'm sorry. That's just not something that's in my control. I love you, Canada. It's not me. it's it's other people. So I I am assuming that I will not be doing as many shipments internationally, um, which is kind of sad because I really enjoy sending out yarn to other countries. I get a kick out of it. I get a kick out of sending yarn to my friends. I get a kick out of sending yarn to people who live in the hometown where I grew up. That happened a couple weeks ago. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you grew up there, or that you live there. I lived in the next neighborhood. I grew up in the next neighborhood. And I'm just like freaking out, flipping out. I was just so happy. She was like, yeah, well, I'm only going to be here for a couple more weeks, and then I'm moving to a good part of town. So, anyway. Alright, I'm going to show you a couple of... No, actually I'll do this real quick. Designers. I know how tough it is to come up with a creative design and not only get it down on paper, but get it into something functional and attractive and workable. And I just want to point out that much like with putting on makeup, at first you want to have a nice close-up view when you're putting on makeup to make sure that you don't have lines going around anywhere. But then you want to step back to make sure that everything still looks good. Sometimes when people are plucking their eyebrows, they go too far because they've been sitting so close, like, oh, well, just do one more, and then you get back, and it's like, ooh, you may as well not have any eyebrows at that point, unless that was your intent. But, sometimes designers need to keep in mind this makeup rule. Sometimes something that looks good really close up can look very different from far away. And I'm not sure what exactly those were supposed to represent. Bells? Squished up acorns? But to me, it looks like a marital aid. It looks like a lot of marital aids. It looks like a whole line of marital aids, if you know what I'm saying. I'm trying not to be too gauche. So sometimes when you come up with a design, you need a friend. I'm sure she had test knitters, and maybe those test knitters didn't look at it on somebody from a distance. But marital aids. Oh, dang it. Just sometimes you need a friend. Sometimes you need a friend to go, honey, I know you think that this looks like one thing, but much like the name Penetrex, sometimes a shape can also look like another shape, and sometimes you have to take those things into account. Okay. I'm going to show you a little bit of yarn, and then I'm going to talk about Black History Month. So, if you don't want to see my yarn, get on out of here. If you don't want to hear about Black History Month because you're tired of hearing about Black History Month, get the hell out. Okay, so we got some sparkle yarn. Yes, I do. This is Purple Rain. Purple Rain. Look at it sparkle. I was almost afraid to make this colorway before the Ravens played. That's how superstitious I am. But the Ravens won, and this colorway turned out great. This one is called Marigold Lemonade. It's also a sparkle. It has a lot of pink and peachy tones to it. Sparkly. And then we have, I really like this one. If nobody buys it by the time I need to work on my next project, I'm going to keep it for myself. This is called Jawbreaker. And it's really, I have the most fun making these colorways. They're just kind of tricky to do in a way, but I won't get into details on how I do it. But I really like it. I really like it. And then we've got Katniss, the girl who was on fire. And this has a lot more red to it. And it sparkles because fire should sparkle. And the last sparkle is Sweetums Taffy String. Again, just, this was a fun colorway to do. I really had fun with it. I don't know how many people would actually enjoy it, but I think these are great for fun people who like to do fun things, who like to experiment, get the gust of life into your life, have some fun. Okay. Crinkle, 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 crinkle. Crinkle time. Crinkle time. And real quick, I'll just get out. This is on Tapscott Yarn. My sparkle yarn is on its Glitz. If you remember, if you've ever watched Toddlers and Tiaras, the most fun pageants are the Glitz pageants. They really dress up them girls. And I'm really just showing off my armpits today, aren't I? Sorry about that. Alright, so this is my Tapscott yarn. 75% merino, 25% wool, definitely sock yarn. And this is Yakuts for Yakuts Island in Oregon. Well, not island, but area. I have a friend who lives in there. She's totally crunchy granola. And she's kind of awesome. And actually, her sister does pickling. So in that episode of Portlandia where they're talking about pickling and they're in a basement pickling, that's my friend's sister's basement that they did all the pickling in. I love having friends on the internet. There are so many wild things. Oh, what was the other wild thing that happened? Oh, what was it? Now I can't remember. But I was like, oh my gosh, I'm even more connected to this other person now. But I can't remember who it was. So I guess not that connected. Okay. And then I did basic gray, light blue, and white called My Hero. Great for Batman fans. And then we have Grello. It's gray and it's yellow. It's Grello. Gray and yellow, Grello. And then we've got just 2 shades of green here. What the heck did I name this? Now I have to go look. One moment, please. Oh, Cloverfield. Roll me over in the clover, roll me over, lay me down and do it again. Do you know that song? We're at number 1 and the fun has just begun. Roll me over, lay me down and do it again. Roll me over in the clover, roll me over, lay me down and do it again. We're at number 2 and she's taking off her shoes. Roll me over, lay me down and do it again. Roll me over in the clover, roll me over, lay me down and do it again. I learned that song in Girl Scouts. So, those are my newest colorways that I listed yesterday that are in the store, and they are 20% off with the coupon code Purple Rain. So, and that sale is going on until Sunday evening, like 8 o'clock Sunday night. Alright. Black History Month. It's February. It's Black History Month. And I know that you're looking at me and you're thinking, this is a white girl. But I've got news for you. I'm black. These are my great-grandparents. That is Eliza Jane Sexton and Greenberry Thomas. And they were from Kentucky, a very rural area of Kentucky. And they were often classified as Melungeon. And Melungeons have kind of a weird mythical tale about them. One of the beliefs was that they were Portuguese, or that they were Portuguese slaves that ran away and then lived in the mountains. Another one was that they were actually Native Americans, but through genetic testing, it turns out that they are mostly of sub-Saharan African descent. So, these are my great-great-grandparents. And then this is my great-great-grandmother. And that's their daughter. As you can see, just over a short amount of time, she was a ton lighter skinned than the 2 of them. And they're on my grandfather's side. So I've done genetic testing. My grandfather actually gave me his spit, which was very kind of him. So I was able to determine that, yeah, not Native American, sub-Saharan African. So, Melungeons were often discriminated against. They stayed mostly in the hills of Appalachia. And so I'm not exactly sure how my great-great-grandmother met my great-great-grandfather. He grew up in Middle Tennessee, and she lived in the far east Appalachians of Kentucky. But then they both went out to Arkansas. I can only guesstimate that they were both involved in the coal industry in some way, and they just kind of both wound up in the same town and met each other from there. And I'm guessing that she might not have told him about her parents because she could pass as white. And my great-great-grandfather's dad fought as a Confederate in the Civil War. So it would be very interesting to me to know how those relations worked out in the end. Just how did my great-great-great-grandfather feel about my great-great-grandmother? If he ever met her, if he ever knew her. How did he treat her? How did she feel? Or did she just never go back to Tennessee to visit if my great-great-grandfather went? I have a lot of different questions about those kinds of things, and I just don't have answers to them. But as Melungeons, they were also considered mulattoes. And so, for the most part, they were treated as if they were less than white people, less than black people, because they had done something terrible. They had mixed races. So, it's always interesting to take a look into your past. Some people have wondered about the deals on 23andme.com and Ancestry.com, and if you have a spare $100 to do it, I recommend it. You will find a lot of really interesting information. 23andMe is oriented more towards your health. Ancestry is more towards your relatives that they can help you get in touch with. Thanks to 23andMe, I already know most likely how I'm going to die. It's kind of upsetting to think about it. And it's one of those things that I'm not going to be able to control very much once it happens. So I hope it doesn't happen for a very long time. One of the ways to help me stave it off for a while is to exercise more. Less fat in the brain. And to always continue learning. Always use your brain. So that's why I'm always trying to challenge myself and do things that are out of my comfort zone so that I can use my brain to kind of power it up and keep it going. But even some of the most brilliant people in the world have had this affect them. And I know that those people didn't stop challenging themselves. And I know a lot of them were not overweight. It's just, I know it's coming sometime, and I definitely won't be videocasting when it comes. And I feel terrible because there's such a high chance that my kids are going to wind up having it as well. I think on the one hand, it's great that I had my kids when I was young, because I feel like I still have a lot of life left to live, but I also have a sense of doom coming at me going, guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? So I'm not looking forward to that. And yes, I am traipsing around the actual diagnosis of what it is in case my insurance company ever finds out. I know that the laws will be changing soon, but this is a genetic condition. They don't know about it. I've talked to my doctor about it off the record, just so that she knows. But it's really scary to know that this is going to happen to me. So I'm trying to get the most out of life for as long as I possibly can. And I challenge you to do the same. Have as much fun as you possibly can before everything goes. Boy, that was maudlin. Oh, okay. Anyway, I hope you all have a great week. Gosh, there's really not anything going on this weekend, is there? Next week is Fat Tuesday and Ash Wednesday and all of those fun celebrations and things like that. So looks like I'm just gonna have a lot of time to knit, and I'm gonna have a lot of time to send out packages for people who buy some yarn from me. And I have my test knitters working on my design. They got their yarn in the mail yesterday. They got their pattern yesterday. I haven't heard back from any of them saying, I don't understand the directions. So I'm assuming that that's going great. And I'm really excited about it. So that's leaving on a good note, right? Right. And Maria Bamford supports me in my journey. And I support you in your journey. Okay. Have a great week. And I will talk to you all next Tuesday. Bye-bye.